The store was buzzing with its usual late-morning crowd, shoppers weaving through aisles with carts full of cereal boxes and cleaning supplies, kids begging for candy at the checkout, and the hum of everyday life playing out like a familiar soundtrack. Nobody expected that in a matter of minutes, an ordinary day at a suburban retail store would transform into a scene straight out of a Hollywood drama. And yet, that's exactly what happened when a manager made one of the biggest misjudgments of his career. A mistake so massive that within hours it became a viral social media sensation, a lesson in humility, and an unforgettable reminder about the dangers of snap judgments. The man he dismissed as a nuisance turned out not only to be one of the most respected actors of our generation but also his very own boss, the majority owner of the store chain. That man was none other than Denzel Washington. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Picture it. Denzel, fresh out of a workout, dressed in sweats and a cap pulled low, walking into the store with the casual demeanor of someone who just wanted to grab a few things and see how his business was running. He didn't announce who he was, didn't flaunt his identity, didn't have a bodyguard or an entourage clearing the way. He came in as any other customer would, blending into the crowd. But to the store manager, eager to show authority and maybe craving validation from his staff, this looked like an opportunity to flex power. Instead of recognizing the quiet dignity of the man in front of him, he saw a stereotype, a threat, someone he assumed was either begging or scheming. And in a burst of arrogance, he made his move. He marched across the floor, puffed up his chest, and barked words that would soon echo back in regret. "Get out of my store!" But as if that wasn't humiliating enough, he raised his hand and slapped Denzel in front of stunned shoppers, as if this public display of aggression would earn him respect. Imagine the collective gasp that followed. Phones were out instantly because in today's world, nothing escapes the lens of a smartphone camera. Shoppers froze mid-step, parents shielded their children, and whispers flew like wildfire through the aisles. Who was this man that the manager felt bold enough to strike? And why was Denzel, one of the most recognizable figures in Hollywood, just standing there, calm as ever, when so many would have erupted? That calmness was the first clue something bigger was about to unfold. Denzel didn't shout. He didn't retaliate. Instead, he straightened up, removed his cap, and in that unmistakable voice that has commanded the big screen for decades, he delivered a line that will likely go down as one of the most memorable clapbacks in retail history. "Interesting way to greet your boss." The words hung in the air, heavy with revelation. The crowd's shock turned into a tidal wave of whispers, then shouts. People began piecing it together. It was Denzel Washington. Not just a random customer, not a stranger to be dismissed, but the majority owner of the store chain itself. The very man whose vision and investment made the business possible was standing in front of them, being treated as less than human by the person who should have known better. You could almost hear the silence that fell over the manager as reality crashed in. His bravado melted away instantly, his tough guy persona collapsing like a house of cards in the wind. He stammered, tried to backtrack, his eyes darting nervously as the sea of shoppers pulled out their phones, recording every second of his downfall. But Denzel wasn't done. With a calm hand, he pulled out his phone and placed a call. Not to the police, not to his publicist, but directly to the CEO of the company. In a tone both firm and collected, he reminded the executive on the other end that as the majority shareholder, this incident demanded immediate action. And action came faster than anyone could have imagined. Within minutes, the regional director stormed through the doors, clipboard in hand and determination on his face. No drawn-out investigation, no waiting game. He came with termination papers already prepared. In front of the crowd, still buzzing, still recording, the manager was stripped of his authority. Fired on the spot. His career ended right there, in the same place he had tried to assert power by humiliating another man. The irony was too rich to ignore. And yet, the moment wasn't about revenge. Denzel turned what could have been a story of bitterness into a lesson in grace and leadership. Instead of gloating, he turned to the customers, offering them something they didn't expect but would never forget. "Today, every shopper gets 50% off," he announced. his words drawing cheers and applause. It was as if the air shifted, turning what started as an ugly scene into one of generosity and unity. Shoppers smiled, staff members, many of whom had looked uncomfortable during the confrontation, breathed sighs of relief, and the story began to take shape as something larger than just a retail scuffle. It became a moment about respect, accountability, and the need to treat every person who walks through the door with dignity. By evening, the videos from multiple angles flooded social media platforms. Twitter was ablaze with hashtags like hashtag Denzel the Boss, hashtag Lesson in Respect, and hashtag Manager Fired on the Spot. TikTok edits paired the confrontation with dramatic music, racking up millions of views. On Instagram, customers who were present posted photos of their half-off hauls, captioned with messages of support for Denzel and warnings about the dangers of prejudice. Within hours, the story had gone global, sparking debates about leadership, humility, and the thin line between perception and reality. Late-night hosts joked about how this was the plot twist of the year, while business experts weighed in on how Denzel's approach turned potential PR disaster into a masterclass in brand protection. And isn't that the deeper lesson here? How many times do we, in our daily lives, make snap judgments about people based on appearance? How many times do we assume someone's worth, status, or intentions just by what they're wearing, how they walk, or how they talk? The manager thought he was protecting his store, but what he was really doing was projecting his own biases. He saw clothes, not character. He saw difference, not dignity. And that's a mistake we've all been guilty of in one form or another. This incident, as entertaining and shocking as it was, holds up a mirror for all of us. Because what if it hadn't been Denzel Washington? What if it had been an ordinary person, someone without fame or wealth, who was treated this way? Would anyone have cared? Would there have been justice so swift and visible? Or would it have been just another case of someone being silenced, dismissed, and made to feel small? That's the uncomfortable truth lurking beneath the viral glamour of this story. Denzel's fame amplified the consequences, but the principle remains universal. Everyone deserves respect, no matter what they look like, no matter what assumptions might be swirling in the back of our minds. In a world where we are often in a rush to prove ourselves right, to look strong in front of others, or to assert control, perhaps the real strength lies in slowing down, in choosing empathy over ego, in remembering that the stranger in front of you could be someone extraordinary, or simply someone who deserves kindness. And isn't that an aha moment worth holding on to? Leadership isn't about barking orders or flexing authority. It's about fostering respect, creating spaces where dignity is the baseline, not the exception. Denzel showed that in the calmness of his response, in the generosity of his follow-up, and in the lesson he left behind. So the next time you're tempted to judge someone by their hoodie, their shoes, or their silence, ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this person? And more importantly, is it true? Could it be that the person you're dismissing carries wisdom, value, or even power you can't see? The truth is, you'll never know until you choose respect first. The story of Denzel and the mistaken manager will live on not just because it made headlines or went viral, but because it resonates with a truth we all need to remember. The measure of our humanity isn't in how we treat those above us, but in how we treat those we think are beneath us. And often, as this manager learned the hard way, those assumptions can flip in an instant. Now, the question is, what would you have done in that moment if you were the manager, the shopper watching, or even Denzel himself? Would you have acted differently? Or would you have fallen into the same trap of prejudice and pride? Let this story be more than just a viral headline. Let it be the spark that makes us pause before we judge, that reminds us respect costs nothing, and that humility is the mark of true strength. And if you believe this is a lesson worth sharing, don't just scroll past. Share your thoughts, your stories, your aha moments. Because the world doesn't just need more headlines. It needs more conversations about what truly matters.